for joining us. You're watching N24 TV. This is the news. I am Sukay Jajusi. Health Minister's decision on the sit-down strike of nurses and midwives. The Health Minister, Dr. Ahmadu Lamin Samate, held a press conference on Tuesday, the 31st of August 2021 at the Ministry of Health in Banjul, where he made a briefing about the sit-down strike of Nurses and Midwives Association on the threat to go on a strike on the 1st of September. He stated, "We also want to remind our DA nurses that they are all civil servants and Ministry of Health staffs first and foremost, before being member of Nurses and Midwives Association, which is voluntary. They have a contractual obligations to the government. No civil servant is given a job without applying an appointment letter which stipulates the basic salary and all the allowances," said Minister Samate. N24 filed this report.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you very much for coming to cover this press conference, where important issues in the health sector will be highlighted. We are aware of the allowance issues of the nurses being discussed by the Nurses and Midwives Association and the threat to go on strike on the 1st of September 2021. This is an unfortunate call and is a step that health workers should always refrain from. I will start by giving you the background to the allowance issue. It is important that you all know that this government is very committed to the provision of high-quality healthcare for the people of this country. In that vein, this government raised the salaries of all civil servants by 50% and the transport allowance from $500 to $1,500. This equally benefited the nurses. Within 1 year of coming into office, the government increased the night allowances of nurses at Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital by 100% and in some cases 200%. Various nurses had increased allowances in the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. President Barrow's government had ever since wanted to improve the take-home pay of the nurses and other healthcare workers in this country.
The lead counsel Esam Baifal declared his candidature on the 27th of August 2020, where he assures Gambians that he is the right person to take the Gambia away from poverty. From 1994 to 2017, Gambians suffered. There are too many victims. I will ensure justice for the victims. I know it would come with a price, but justice would be served. I would not lead a government that would sweep it under the carpet, Mr. Fall stated. N24 was present and filed this report.
What is stopping us from prospering like all other societies, even Guinea-Bissau? We used to look down upon them. They are beating us now. You know, so moitu dinanjel ndare. And that's what Musangom used to say. And that is the truth. What is stopping us is the failure of leadership and the focus on petty politics based on what is your surname or which part of the country were you born. We are fixated on foolish parochial values that keep us firmly rooted in the grasp and the clutches of mediocres, and they rule us, and we cannot do anything about it. For us, politics and leadership has for the longest time been the reserve for those who are not very successful in our society. And let's call a spade a spade. Let us not maslaha the truth. That those days should be over. That is one of the reasons why we are lagging behind.
The Ministry of Health on Tuesday, the 31st of August, also briefed the press regarding the issues of COVID-19. It's important to encourage people to take the vaccine. People should also abide by the precautionary measures. The past 1 week, they lost about 10 people, and it's sad that people are still in denial. There is no shortcut, and the only way to prevent ourselves from COVID-19 is through vaccination. Only 10% of the population have been vaccinated. Haruna Jallo, a senior lab scientist, stated that if an individual is COVID-19 positive, an additional blood sample would be taken again to confirm where the individual get it from and also confirm if the individual has strong antibodies. These were statements from the Ministry of Health on Tuesday, the 31st of August. N24 filed this report.
As well as senior directors of the ministry for their influencing support. Otherwise, it was going to be very difficult for us to start this exercise, despite the importance. Now, as a form of a background, for instance, since the first COVID case was discovered in December 2019, we have still not understood the virus. And therefore, to address this knowledge gap, it will be important to provide some scientific guidance for the current and future epidemics in terms of prevention and control in Africa. And that's why Africa CDC has actually provided the support to assist African Union member states in conducting these standardized serological. As you all know, COVID-19, the prevalent dates are critical. Effective mitigation strategies, and to understand the true impact of the disease and other relevant interventions in Africa, which might be quite different from various regions with different populations, with different age distributions, as well as different risks. Now, the information that is going to be gained from this exercise, from these surveys, will actually provide critical insight into the transmission and impact of the virus in the African continent to help countries to understand what factors may have influenced this recent transmission. And also there is going to be a standardization of methodologies in the different countries that are actually going to implement this survey to better understand the differences in behavior of the virus.
Now to the news from other parts of the world. Zambia's new president has told the BBC that he has inherited an empty treasury while horrifying amounts of money had been stolen. People are still trying to make last-minute movements of funds which are unauthorized, which are not theirs. President Hakainde Hichilema said he defeated his rival at Galungu in presidential elections last month. Mr. Hichilema did not name any officials. Mr. Lungu has previously denied all wrongdoing. The BBC has approached his party for comment. Mr. Lungu governed the Copper-rich nation since 2015. He was widely praised for the smooth transition of power to Mr. Hichilema, who won the presidency after 5 failed attempts. Texas passes law banning abortion after 6 weeks. A law banning abortion from as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy has come into effect in the U.S. state of Texas. It bans abortions after the detection of what anti-abortion campaigners call a fatal heartbeat, something medical authorities say is misleading. The law, one of the most restrictive in the country, took effect after the Supreme Court did not respond to an emergency appeal by abortion providers. Doctors and women's rights groups have heavily criticized the law. That was all we have for you in today's news bulletin. Thank you for joining us.